Here are 5 amazing facts about Barabbas that you probably didn't know. So, the first fact number 1, is that Barabbas actually means the Son of God. Did you know that? Bar means the son of. Abbas means the father or God. So it's Barabbas. It means the son of God. That's the first amazing fact. A lot of people don't realize that. We're going to make that make sense to you in a minute. The second amazing fact is that Barabbas wasn't his full name. Barabbas' full name was Yeshua Barabbas. Yeshua Barabbas. Do you know what that means? It means Jesus, Son of God. Barabbas' full name was Yeshua Barabbas, which means Jesus, Son of God. And Yeshua also means Joshua. That's where Jesus' name really came from. Early church leaders were offended by the fact that he was called Jesus, and so they eventually moved it from the text. But the early scripts actually has his name as Yeshua Barabbas, which means Yeshua, Son of God. In Jesus' day, it wasn't irregular for a lot of people to have the same name. A lot of people were called Yeshua after Joshua. He was a patriarch, and so a lot of people would have named their son after him, being a leader of the Hebrew and the Jewish people. And so it wasn't strange. In fact, a lot of people had the same name. A lot of people were named Yeshua. A lot of the disciples had the same name. Do you know that 6 of the 12 disciples shared a name with another disciple? There were 2 James, there were 2 Simons, and there were 2 Judases who were Jesus' disciples. So people shared names. It was common to share names a lot back then. And so he is called Yeshua, Son of God. Remember that. The third amazing fact that a lot of people don't realize, that Barabbas was not a common criminal. People have been portraying Barabbas as this rapist and murderer and thief and robber, etc. But the fact is, he was not. And people say, oh, it says in the Bible he's a robber. Actually, it doesn't actually say that. The book of Matthew refers to Barabbas as a notorious prisoner. He was a notorious prisoner. Mark and Luke referred to Barabbas as one involved in a stasis, which means riot. He was someone involved in a riot. Mark 15:7, I read a few says, and there was one named Barabbas, which lay bound with them that had made insurrection with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection. And so that is what he had done. They were part of a riot or a stasis. They have done some insurrection, and there was a revolt. And what was this revolt about? There was a revolt because Herod had actually put the eagle standard, the eagle image, on the temple, above the gates of the temple. And that was an abomination at the time. And the Jewish people decided that they were going to fight against this. There were some rebels who decided to come together and fight this. And so there was a riot, and so there were persons who were a part of that. I'll explain that some more in a minute. The word used, the Greek word for thief, is not the word that they used to describe Barabbas. The Greek word for thief is kleptos. Where do we get the word klepto from? Klepto, like kleptomania, someone who can't help but steal. That's the word for thief. But the word that in John 18:40 that describes Barabbas refers to him as lestes, Lestes, which is translated bandit or insurrectionist. Bandit, the word we kind of use for thief now. He's a bandit, but it just means someone who's a part of a band, a gang, etc. An insurrectionist. And actually Josephus, who's a historian at the time, who wrote on these things, whenever he referred to revolutionists or revolutionaries, he used that word lestes, that we kind of mix up today and call it a robber, a thief, etc. But it's a different word from klepto. Okay, so he was someone different. And so you could see that there was an insurrection, there was a riot going on, and there were persons who were arrested as a part of that. And so insurrectionists, according to the state, were always given a bad name. Any negative name you could put on them, terrorists, whatever, they were bad people. So they kind of put that name on them. But the truth is that they were insurrectionists. A clue that will help you understand this is the fact that there were two so-called lestes, or thieves, would be called thieves. We said there was two thieves that was crucified with Jesus. But the problem is, thieves were not executed. Even to this day, you don't execute thieves, you punish them. You send them to jail, they cut off their hand, they have some bad treatment, but they were not crucified. So you didn't crucify thieves. Crucifixion was like a capital punishment. It was a punishment that only the worst of the world who offended the state got. And that's why when the Pharisees brought Jesus to Herod and to Pilate, they tried to make him a offender of the state by saying he's claiming to be the king, to make it something worth being crucified or killed for. And so that's the difference. And so the two thieves on the cross, the word to describe them was also lestes. All right, lestes was also the word to describe them. So they were insurrectionists who were also on the cross. All right, so Jesus was hung with insurrectionists. And so these were actually most likely persons who were arrested with Barabbas. And of course, you see that the book says that there were some persons who were gathered together. Barabbas was one of them, and they were to be executed. And so these are the people who were to be executed with him. And I know it's easy to tell the story that, oh, Jesus died with these bad men, they were on the side of him, or that they chose this bad man Barabbas over him, but that's really how it works. And so words change over time, and the meaning of words change over time, but that is the difference. He was not a klepto, a thief. He was lestes, an insurrectionist, a rebel with a cause. They were fighting to get this desecration off of the temple. And so that's exactly who they were. Number 4, Barabbas was seen to some as a Messiah. Because he was an insurrectionist, he was fighting. He was fighting for the Jewish people. He was fighting for God. If you read Josephus' accounts of it, these insurrectionists were fighting to defend God's honor. And so he was seen to some as a warrior. And so remember, at the time, they were looking for a warrior king. They were looking for a warrior king at the time, in the Messiah who's going to come and change everything, who's going to fight Rome and take Rome back. And that's what they thought was the Messiah, and that's why they didn't recognize Jesus when he came. Okay, and the fifth amazing fact is that he was there as a distraction. If you read my book, Identity Crisis, the first chapter focuses on distractions, because it is the devil's secret weapon. It's his most powerful weapon. It's just to distract you, to get you away from what you're supposed to do, or to make the wrong choice. And he does that not by putting something bad in front of you. He puts something good in front of you. That is the main way he deceives you. He won't put good food and bad food, yucky looking food, tasteless looking food in front of you. He's going to put something to tempt you with. And that is what he did in this case. They had a choice. They had Jesus of Nazareth, and they had what they called Jesus, Son of God, because it was Yeshua Barabbas, Jesus, Son of God. And that was the amazing decision they had to make between these two. And he was put there as a distraction. Do you want this man who's been fighting for you, who looks like he could be this Messiah who's coming up to fight Rome and take it back? Do you want to save him, or do you want to save this man who went and beat us up in the temple, who threw you out of the temple, who doesn't have a house, no place to stay, but he's a good man? And then on top of that, the priests went into the crowd and started telling them to pick Barabbas, because the priests and the Pharisees were even against the Roman invasion, and they felt that Barabbas was fighting them. They felt like Jesus was fighting the priests. And so they had a misconception about what was going on. And so that was the choice that was given. See, the devil always puts good in front of you, but it's not right. And so it seemed like a good choice for them at the time to pick someone who was going to fight the power, fight the system over this other guy who they didn't really have in such high esteem. He was going around doing miracles and doing good things, but they wanted to fight. They were tired of Rome and Rome's oppression, and so they chose the wrong one because they didn't see what was happening. And so that's very powerful. In your life, you're going to have the same kind of choices. You're not going to have, you're not going to be tempted by things that seem bad and seems evil. You're going to be tempted by things that look good. You're going to always be at a crossroad, and that's how the enemy works. The wheat and the tares. He put the wheat and he mixed it with the tares. Remember that parable? The tares that look just like wheat. It looks just like it, and that's how the enemy works, and that's what you got to be aware of. He used the tares because you can't tell the difference until it's too late. And that's the same thing that happened with Barabbas. He put Jesus and he put Barabbas. One was called Jesus, Son of God. One was called Jesus of Nazareth at the time. And he was actually the Son of God. He was the wheat. And he put him there with the tares. And that's the actual true story of what happened. In real life, this is always going to happen. When Jesus was about to embark on his mission, the enemy took him up on the mountain. The enemy took him on the mountain and gave him a choice. Hey, I could give you all of this, and that's what's going to happen in your life. So you have to be very careful of these decisions. And so don't be deceived by the enemy. If you want to understand this some more, get my book. And you're going to understand distractions. You're going to understand good and evil are sometimes the same thing. Because there's a lot of times you can make it a choice of something that is good, but is not right. That's 5 amazing facts about Barabbas. See you next time.